How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Total Takedown UFC Des Moines edition. If it's your first time watching this show, you guys, what we do is we go over and under as opposed to looking at a side. We're looking for an alternative way to make some cash at this week's fight card. Do me a favor, hit the like button, get subscribed if you're not already, and let's dive on into this card. So we're going to go ahead and start with the first fight of the night this week, okay? I think I like some violence to open up the show here. We've got Juliana Miller and Ivana Petrovic, 2.5 total. It's women's MMA, so buyer be warned. Over 2.5 is minus 230, which is classic for women's MMA. Under 2.5 is plus 175. You guys, I like violence in this fight. Juliana Killer Miller, she earned that name. She is a finisher. She is a kill or be kill fighter. Even if she doesn't have the advantage, she's going to come forward and she's going to do everything she can to end the fight. And what I've seen from Ivana Petrovic is that she is talented enough when it comes to her offense with her submissions. However, she is missing pieces when it comes to her defense. She loses position. She leaves her arm hanging out there. She can be had on the feet. I think there's an opportunity for both these women to end this fight, frankly. It's low-level women's MMA, and that's where you get arm bars from guard and hip tosses and headlocks. So give me under 2.5 at plus 175 number to go ahead and start the fight. Shout out Juliana Miller. She's wearing like a Jason hockey ski mask and stuff like that going in this week. She's a woman on a mission, and I like when somebody comes in with that kind of intent, especially when we're talking about an under. The next fight, Thomas Peterson takes on Don'Tale Mayes. Over 2.5 is minus 165. I actually kind of like over on this one, you guys, because what we've seen from Don'Tale Mayes is he is a man who will turtle up and lay on his back and do absolutely nothing. Thomas Peterson wants to come forward, wants to get on your hips, wants to drag you to the mat and take you down. Don'Tale Mayes just needs to crack this guy once, really hard in the face for this fight to be over. So this is a very, very sketchy total. I will admit, probably not one that's going to make my card. But if Thomas Peterson is doing what he does in this fight, it's going to slow the pace down. These guys are going to get dragged to the ground. They're both going to be heavy. They're both going to be tired. And we know Don'Tale Mayes never fights optimally. We know Don'Tale Mayes does not do the right thing to win these UFC fights. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if he played the game of Thomas Peterson, went the pace with Thomas Peterson, tried to wrestle himself against a guy who he can definitely outstrike. That is just Don'Tale Mayes as it gets. So over 2.5, minus 165, greasy heavyweight over. I think that makes a whole lot of sense to me here in this spot. The next fight I do want to go ahead and bring to your attention here is another women's MMA fight. We've got Yana Santos and Miesha Tate. Over is 2.5, minus 400. You guys, this is the classic chalked up women's MMA. It is just destined to go the distance. I actually think we see a finish here. Now, I think more often than not, it's going to be Miesha Tate finishing this fight. However, we have seen Miesha Tate hurt in fights before. We have seen her rocked. We have seen her knocked out. Yana Santos came into her last fight in absolutely spectacular shape. I do think that she has an opportunity to outstrike Miesha Tate and hurt her on the feet if she's able to keep the fight standing. Similarly, if Miesha Tate gets this fight to the ground, she's going to wear out Yana Santos. She's going to exhaust Yana Santos. She's going to either pound her out or look for a submission, sub way more than likely than KO. But I do think there's actually upside for both women to potentially finish this fight, and getting plus 280, plus 300 on an under 2.5 in a spot like this, it's worth a taste, okay? The next fight, similarly so, Jeremy Stephens and Mason Jones, 2.5 total. Over is plus 105. Under 2.5 is minus 135. And again, I like me some violence. I absolutely like looking under in this fight because Mason Jones is coming back to the UFC for the first time in several years. He got his beak wet again over at Cage Warriors, got his confidence back, evolved his skill set, and he's going to come out here and try and make a statement. Jeremy Stephens is a guy, while he's tough as nails, has never been able to keep a fight on the feet to save his life. He's getting older. He's getting more fragile. Now he's been in the PFL and in BKFC in his time away from the UFC. This is very likely his retirement fight, like one more for the Gipper. The UFC's bringing him back and letting him compete one final time to make him feel good about himself before they send him on his way. And that's why they matched him up with Mason Jones, because it's somebody who's young, somebody who they want to be impressive, somebody who they think can go out there and get a finish, get a big impressive win, a highlight reel with a big name on his resume. But what is Jeremy Stephens' path to victory here? That's right, the knockout. So if he's going to win this fight, is it because he's going to jab and move against Mason Jones for 15 minutes? Is it because he's going to out-wrestle Mason Jones for 15 minutes? No, neither of those things are happening. If Jeremy Stephens is winning this fight, it's because he cracks Mason Jones square on the jaw because the kid leads with his face, and this fight is over. So I'm looking violence, minus 135. Seems like a fair price to me. Let's go ahead and go under. The co-main event, Reiner de Ritter takes on Bo Nickel. 2.5 is your total. Over 2.5 is minus 105. Under 2.5 is minus 125. And again, I have to look at violence here in this fight. We've seen Reiner de Ritter's chin be a bit of a problem. He's been rocked. He's been cracked. You know, someone like Gerald Meerschaert in the third round of their fight was able to tee off on him with the hands, and that's something Bo Nickel has very much been working on. If this fight ends up being a grappling match, which it probably should be, you've got a high-level American wrestler versus a high-level BJJ guy, this fight's probably going to take place on the ground. Well, Bo Nickel can do damage. He can ground and pound. He can get on top. He can make Reiner de Ritter's life a nightmare. Reiner de Ritter can sweep. Reiner de Ritter can reverse. Reiner de Ritter on top has filthy ground and pound, and he's got some slick submissions. We've seen that twice already in the UFC. I think we're going to see an end to this fight one way or the other. If Bo Nickel slips up, this fight is over. If Reiner de Ritter gets clipped with something, this fight is likely over. So I kind of think the under 2.5 again makes some sense. The main event here, Corey Sandhagen and Deiveson Figueiredo, 4.5 total. Over is minus 220. Under 4.5 is plus 170. And this is less of me telling you guys that I like an over or an under and more of a word of caution. This is not a total that's going to make my card. Over 4.5 at minus 220 seems like what's going to take place in this fight. Corey Sandhagen by decision seems like what's going to take place in this fight. However, Deiveson Figueiredo is fighting up a weight class. He is older, he is slower, and his last couple of fights, he has been taking more and more big shots. He has been able to wear those big shots. He has been able to take the damage of those big shots. However, he's getting up there in age, and eventually there's going to be a tipping point where he will no longer be able to take the damage that's being thrown at him. I think it's very, very possible that you get a Corey Sandhagen flying knee TKO in this kind of a spot. So I don't want to be chalked up at the over 4.5 minus 220. A word of caution. It's under for this guy or nothing, and more than likely, it's nothing. That is the total takedown, everybody. Thank you very much for being here with me today. Hit the like button if you didn't on your way out the door. We'll see you guys later on for Clint's hot props and, of course, the undefeated post-weigh-in show. Let's roll.